Jazzcast Pros.
When you think of AI, what is the first word that comes to your mind? So if we were playing like the word association game and I said AI, what would you say immediately after that? Is the word authentic? Probably not. If you think of AI and you think of computer generated and robotic and not personal, then this is the episode for you, because I really think that this conversation that Kinsey and I have is going to change your mind. I talk with Kinsey from Authentic AI and Feel Good Social. And we just have the best conversation about how you can use AI as a tool to really hype up your presence online. And Kinsey has a piece of content that literally I used it. I created a reel in 10 minutes and got the most engagement out of almost any piece of content that I've ever created. And it literally took 10 minutes using reels and her workbook and AI. It's now a staple in my content creation. And I love how Kinsey talks through the whole process of AI. So without further ado, let's talk to Kinsey. Welcome to High Vibe Table Talks, the podcast to help you, the current or aspiring solopreneur, navigate the messy middle so you can make both an income and an impact. Hi, I'm Rashawn, and I love creating safe spaces for women to be courageous in their dreams. After spending a decade working in sales for a startup and talking with hundreds of other women entrepreneurs, I know it can be lonely, but you can do this. We are having impactful conversations with people walking similar paths to you, so pull up a seat. This is High Vibe Table Talks. I am very excited about our guest today. Kinsey from Authentic AI is joining us. Welcome, Kinsey.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
AI is such a hot topic. Before we dive into that, I always like to share with the audience, where are you? Where are you located? Tell us about your business and then who you serve.
Yes, I am currently in Colorado. I moved here over 10 years now. It's crazy, but I love it out here. I've always been a mountains girl. I grew up in Montana, actually, and then moved to Indiana for middle school, high school, and college. And I was like, get me back to the mountains. So now I'm in my happy place. And as far as my businesses go, I've been an entrepreneur for 5+ years now, podcasting for 4+ years. And I started out my brand Feel Good Social to help down-to-earth entrepreneurs show up online in a way that feels good to you without wasting your time or selling your soul. That's our little tagline, Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've just been building that brand, really focused on authenticity, sharing your story, selling without the sleaze, all that different stuff. And about a year ago, I started first hearing about the AI phenomenon, and AI tools really coming into the entrepreneur space. And I will say, honestly, when I first heard about AI tools, I like to say I was a total curmudgeon about it. I literally always think of the grandpa from Dennis the Menace, shaking his fist at the neighbor's fence, isn't the internet fake enough as it is? What's this going to do to our creativity, our critical thinking skills, all the different stuff. I was kind of not into AI tools. I was grumpy about them, Then I was on a 2-hour drive and I had one of those long drive epiphanies where I was literally like, oh, the reason I'm so grumpy about AI tools is because it's new and different and I'm afraid, right? I'm afraid about what this is going to mean for our culture, for our future. But it's not a lion, so I don't need to run away from it. What I can do instead is turn toward it, get curious about it, and figure out how can we make these tools work for us, for those people like me who are down-to-earth entrepreneurs who care about the quality of their content, their authenticity, but we definitely want to boost our productivity, to get more done more quickly, to find a little wiggle room behind the scenes to actually enjoy our lives, right? So that's when Authentic AI was born, my sister brand. And yeah, we basically take the Feel Good Social approach to AI tools, right? I like to say I teach a human first approach to AI And just making sure that you're using these tools in a way that aligns with you and that feels authentic to your brand, so that you're not sacrificing your brand's authenticity, so that you're not wasting time going back and forth, feeling like you're pulling teeth, trying to get the best responses out of it, so that you can actually get more done more quickly and find that wiggle room behind the scenes to enjoy your life. But, that's not how a lot of people are using these tools. And so I'm trying to spread the message.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking ahead of time about podcast movement from last year, which we both attended before we met each other. And I went into podcast movement, and that was one of my top goals, was to learn about AI in the world of podcasting. And I think it's so beautiful when you talk about boosting productivity. And in my conversations, a lot of times we talk about creating margins for ourselves to live and feel good and rest and play. And I think AI as a tool can create a lot more margins for us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have to tell you, I broke down the numbers for myself. This is a month or two ago now at this point, because I was legit how much time am I actually saving with AI tools, And I'll tell you, this is kind of one of those irksome points for me that I have to get fired up about, because also you start dipping your toes into the AI space and you're seeing all these people being create 30 days of content in 30 seconds, get ChatGPT and quit your day job, all these different things. Yeah. And I'm just shut up, bro. There's a lot, I call them the AI bros. There's a lot of AI bros in this space, let's be honest. And I am not one of those people who's going to promise that, I'm let's be realistic here, yes, you can get ChatGPT to spit out 30 content ideas for you in 30 seconds, but that's not taking into account the time that it takes you to run this through the filter of your brand, to actually even copy paste those into an Instagram scheduler and find the pictures and all the different stuff, right? So when I was doing the math for myself as far as numbers and stuff, I was really being realistic about things for example, let me just start by saying I am a word nerd, self-proclaimed. I went to school for communications. I was opinion editor at our college newspaper, and I love writing, but I am a slow writer and I labor over every stinking word. And it takes me forever to write a piece of copy because I'm a perfectionist. Let's call it what it is. And it used to take me an hour to write an Instagram caption. But now with ChatGPT, I'm still running it through the filter of my brand. I'm actually able to write my captions in 15 minutes, I would say, So there's a huge time saved there. With my podcast, it used to take me freaking 6 hours to edit an episode. I could not keep up with it. Now I can literally edit the video for my podcast and create social clips and write show notes and all this different stuff in 2 hours per episode, right? So it's just crazy things like that. Also, I'm not, getting stuck as much as I used to. I use AI tools to help me whenever I have writer's block or whenever I come up on any sort of pressure point in my business where I need to troubleshoot some tech for my website or anything like that, right? I'll go to AI tools and it helps me just get through that little pressure point or block in way less time than I would have, right? So when I kind of crunch the numbers, the realistic numbers, so to say, I found out that I save 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week, and up to 70 hours a month using AI tools. And this is realistic stuff, and I'm whoa. And honestly, too, when I think about how much I've been able to do in the past year using AI tools in my business, I'm I did that? It's kind of crazy,
Yeah. Through my lens of becoming the relaxed entrepreneur, instead of being wow, look at how much more I can get done in those 15 hours a week. It's think about how much more I get to rest or play or find joy or ease in my business because I have used this tool. So many people look at ChatGPT or AI as the Terminator coming to take over everybody's job. And it's again, it is a tool that we get to use for good and to create space in our life. So I was able to download your workbook a couple weeks ago, and it has just been so fun because I think The number one tip I give to people when talking about ChatGPT is learn how to prompt it. You know, just like when Google first came out, it's like, show me a restaurant. Well, you have to prompt it better than that to get out what you want. And I think that AI is the same. So tell us, like, when people download your workbook, what can they expect out of it, and how can it help people?
Yeah. So I think we have the Reels prompt playbook for ChatGPT. And yes, this is one of my recent freebies. So I've just been loving it. And honestly, I created it out of necessity for myself because I was like, I'm not posting to Instagram. I'm not doing these Reels. Like, well, how can I make this easier on myself? Right. So of course, as per usual lately, I just turned to ChatGPT and I was like, figured out a way to have it help me with these reels, right? And the thing about the Reels prompt playbook is it uses a prompting technique that I love using, but I don't think a lot of people realize that they can really do with ChatGPT. All of the prompts in our Reels prompt playbook are actually what I call formula prompts, but they can also be plug and play prompts or fill in the blank prompts of some sort, right? But it's basically, instead of just going to ChatGPT and say, write me a caption, like that is probably one of the most generic prompts that you could give ChatGPT. And what I always say is generic prompts will get you generic responses that sound like a robot wrote it, right? So we want to get way more specific than that. And we can talk about just like prompting techniques in general too in a little bit if you want to. But with formula prompts, instead of saying write me a caption, you're instead giving ChatGPT the exact formula for what you're looking for and saying, help me customize this to fit my brand, or brainstorm ways I can make this fit my brand, right? So I've been doing this a lot with Reels hooks on Instagram, where I'm like, here's the Reels hook that I want to create, like help me brainstorm different ways I can customize this to fit my brand. And I'll do the same thing with Instagram captions, right? And it's funny, you know, I am a writer and I can like type up a fill in the blank Instagram caption Reels prompt very, very quickly. And I'll say, because I know exactly how I want the format and the outline of the caption to go. And then there's like just little spots where I'm like, this needs something, this needs something, this needs something. And that's where ChatGPT can help me fill in the blanks for my brand and write me the exact caption that I'm looking for really, really quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's, as a tool, just as like a brainstorming tool, is just so powerful, because our brains, they can be funny places to be, especially as creatives. So when I used to work in an office, I would love going in and like whiteboarding something with someone, because you just kind of play off of each other and use each other as inspiration, or how about you use this word, or what if we try that? And I think as a tool, ChatGPT can be such a great place to just be like, here's my idea, spit another idea out at me that's kind of in the same vein, but just using different brain power.
Yeah. One of my favorite ways to use it too is just brain dumping into it. So, you know, with my Reels prompt playbook, I do have kind of those fill in the blank prompts where I literally give it the specific word for word outline and formula of what I'm looking for. But with brainstorm prompting, you can just say like, I'll just say, you know, I want to write a welcome email to my new students for this subscription thing. Please, you know, start by sharing how excited we are and like include like a funny, relatable, self-deprecating line or moment or something, you know, I'll say, and then move into all the important things that they need to know, and then end with like a motivational like tips and different things. You know, I'll just like brain dump and I'll say, you know, I think that this is what I want to say, but it's not pretty and it's not using the words that I would necessarily use and stuff. And yeah, ChatGPT can help me clean that up, tidy it up, and give me something. I mean, I've already also always trained it on my brand persona. So that's a really important way to get better responses out of ChatGPT. So it already knows how I write, who my brand is, who my audience is, and kind of that sort of stuff. So it'll spit something back out at me that is very similar to what I would have written, but it would have taken me at least 30 minutes plus, you know? And then is it going to be perfect at that point still? No, but I can spend like 10 minutes tidying it up and switching things up and making it sound more like me. And then we're good to go, And man, yeah, it's so nice to do that.
So how do you recommend people do train ChatGPT on their brand voice and brand identity?
Oh, yes, lady. I actually have two resources for this. If anyone needs, one is a brand persona for ChatGPT mini course. And it's kind of a good kicking off point if you're just looking to train it on your brand persona, so to say. But then also my new favorite secret weapon is what I call the brand blueprint. And literally it's this like, okay, don't be scared, but it's like an 80-page Google document that I've created. ChatGPT helped me create it, guys, so it's not like that intimidating, but it literally outlines everything that it needs to know, that ChatGPT needs to know about my brand in order to think like my brand, sound like my brand, understand the strategy behind my brand, and also understand who my ideal customers are so that it can just like know all of that within like, I'll upload the document and it knows it in like 10 seconds. I swear. It's crazy. But yeah, there's a few different ways we can do it. But in general, just thinking about, okay, I always like to compare ChatGPT to an intern, right? Or whatever role you want this AI assistant to take on for you, right? It can be an intern. It can be a tech troubleshooter. It could be a business coach helping you being a soundboard for your ideas and all that different stuff, right? So think about the role that it's playing for you in the moment of what your goal is for the conversation. And then make sure that you tell it everything that it needs to know in order for it to be able to do a good job for you, right? So in general, training ChatGPT on your brand persona, you want to think about three different things when it comes to your brand persona specifically. You want to tell it about your brand's core identity, who your brand is. So that means your mission, vision, values, brand opinions, and beliefs, all of those core foundational elements that make up who your brand is, right? You also want to train it on your ideal customers because that's the other side of the coin. That's who you're speaking to. So making sure that ChatGPT knows exactly who it's speaking to, the demographics, the psychographics, the lifestyle, but also the pain points, desires, how you help them, their relationship to you, all that different stuff is really, really helpful. And then the third point of it is your brand's personality, voice, and writing style. And this is especially important where if you're getting ChatGPT to write copy for you, right? So your brand's voice and personality and writing style, it's not just like write in a more friendly, casual tone, right? Like that's going to give you kind of the cheesy cheerleader responses from ChatGPT, right? And or it could go the opposite direction where you're like, please be more professional. And it sounds like a freaking like college professor or something, Right. So when it comes to training on your brand persona and writing style, it's really about getting deeper than that. There's two different ways. If you already have copy and content that you've written that you feel really, really represents your brand, you can actually feed that into ChatGPT and have it analyze that copy for tone of voice, writing style, formatting, emoji usage, all the different things. But if you don't have copy that you feel confident in or anything like that, you can pinpoint your brand voice more closely using descriptive adjectives. But, it's more than the friendly, whatever, kind of the generic adjectives isn't going to get you exactly what you're looking for always. For example, for Feel Good Social and Authentic AI brand voices, my go-to descriptive words are down to earth, straightforward, practical, dry wit, and self-deprecating humor. And I don't know why, but that's what will get ChatGPT to give me something that sounds a little more close to me,
Yeah. No, that's really, really great. And I feel like so many of us have already written so much content that you don't need to like remake the wheel. You can just feed it into it. And ChatGPT does really like their emojis. So that's one thing that I feel like I have to edit out a lot. It's like, I don't use emojis and maybe I should. Maybe it's ChatGPT being like, this would help.
Nope.
We were talking before about like the mindset shift and using ChatGPT as a tool for what it is just that little shift of being like, this is a tool, this isn't here to take over. What were some of the things that you found helped create those 15 hours that you were talking about?
Oh, yeah, totally. When you start dipping your toes into using AI tools and whatnot, it can be scary even to get started, right? And kind of like I shared in the beginning, there's lots of, I call them the AI scaries that I had to overcome myself for sure, because I was really worried about our authenticity as brands, right? I was really concerned about our own critical thinking skills and creative skills as humans, and of course, like, is AI going to take our jobs? Are robots going to take over the world? All those different things. So if you're worried about any of those things, just realize that they're legit. But I will say that, the way that I've gotten over them is like really just starting to use the tools and realizing, like, firstly, you are the gatekeeper of your brand. There are ways that you can use these tools to get more authentic responses, but I always recommend that you do still run things through the filter of your brand. Does my brand believe in this? What is my brand's take on this? And does this sound like my brand? Like, how can I tweak this to make it sound more like my brand, right? When it comes to like creativity and critical thinking skills, definitely I was worried, but once I started using the tools, I actually realized that they actually do a lot to expand and amplify your creativity and critical thinking skills. Like, you can bring your ideas to ChatGPT and it can say like, oh, did you think of this? Or like it can outline it for you. Or even the critical thinking skills. Like, I, again, always am looking at this stuff and being like, does this fit my brand? I feel like I've actually been using my critical thinking skills more so since using these tools. The robots taking over the world, guys, it's a legit fear. But I always tell people that if you start dipping your toes into AI now, you can become involved in the conversation and help to shape the future of AI that we want to see more so, So I don't know. That's how I overcame the AI scaries. But then on the other side of that coin, when you start using these tools, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, right? There's a lot of people in the AI space that are like, AIify your business, AIify your entire life. Like, and they'll start like saying, oh, you're not using this tool. Oh, have you heard of this tool? Believe me, guys, I host an AI podcast. I hear all these tools all the time. But like, firstly, that can be a lot. And it can actually turn you kind of into a deer in headlights, right? Being like, oh my gosh, I have to completely do an overhaul of my entire business, all my systems, all that different stuff. So I always like to encourage people to just start one tool, one task, and one day at a time, and just slowly start using these tools, integrating them into the workflows that you already have in your business to make things go faster, or like to help you along the way, all that different stuff, so that you're not feeling like you have to completely revamp your business. And then it slowly starts to get easier over time, and you can start using them more and more in different ways, right? One of my favorite ways to just get started using AI tools, I already kind of alluded to this earlier in the conversation, but just like when you start using AI tools, I swear, put a sticky note like next to your computer screen or something that says, can ChatGPT help me with this? And then whenever you're just like working along in your day to day and you get stuck, right? You hit a pressure point, you hit writer's block, you can't think of ideas, you run into like a tech troubleshooting issue, an email pops into your inbox. So you're like, ugh, I have to stop my entire day to answer this. I don't know how to answer it. It takes like way too long. Like, that's when you'll be like, ugh. And then you'll see the sticky note, can ChatGPT help me with this? And you'll be like, oh, maybe it can. And then you can go to ChatGPT and like, it can help you most likely, because it can help you with so many things, right? And so then you start opening yourself up to the possibility of using an AI tool in your day to day, and you really find out what are those pressure points, where are those places where AI might be able to help me. So that's been really helpful for me for starting to use AI tools and getting comfortable with them. And then, I've integrated them into my systems and workflows now. I was telling you earlier, I have a podcasting workflow I'm so excited about because it took me so long. I've been podcasting for like almost 5 years now, and like have not shared video podcasts until year 4.5. Let's be honest here. So my new podcast editing workflow is just so great. And Descript is a part of that. AI is a part of that. It's so awesome. Yeah. And like ChatGPT is in a bunch of my different workflows I have set up for my business too. Finding those places where it's like repetitive. I use it for podcast show notes every week, or finding places where it's the stuff where exactly you don't really know how to answer this email, or like you get stuck places. Like that's where it can be really, really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I actually was recently diagnosed with mild ADHD and mild anxiety. And so my brain can just kind of like bounce all over the place or overanalyze or like shut down. And so finding tools to just kind of pull me out of that, and ChatGPT is definitely one of those. So I could talk forever. We are coming up on our time, and I always like to end with a lightning round question. So Kinsey, are you ready for the lightning round questions?
So ready.
Awesome. What is a must-read book?
Oh, yes. I was thinking about this. I would recommend StoryBrand by Donald Miller. That's one of those must-reads for all business owners, I think, who are really trying to hone who their brand is and set up a brand that is like converting and works. It really focuses on like the StoryBrand method for your messaging, and it uses kind of the hero's journey and applies that to your business, which is super cool. But then also within that book, he has really, really great tips for setting up your website and for converting in your homepage and stuff. It's a really quick read. I think I listened to it on audiobook, honestly, and it's really awesome.
Oh, cool. Awesome. What does creativity mean to you?
Oh, man, I feel like this isn't a lightning question, girl, but I'll try. I really love this question because I think about creativity all the time. And I hate it when people say things like, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I have God bless her, my cousin. I love her so much. And she is freaking creative, but she has said that before. And it's been like, no, because I really think that creativity is just something where you can find flow, and you can be really like in the moment and interested and like be excited about like any sort of like new idea or of creating something or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to look like, painting a picture or writing a book or anything like that. Like I think creativity can happen in so many different ways. I think that my husband is a tinkerer. Let's label him a tinkerer. And he like freaking is so creative with like, he's creative when he freaking is fixing our light fixtures and stuff, which I'm kind of like, I don't know about that, babe. But like, like he's creative in like different ways. He loves being like in the garden, being creative with like the way he's like planting the vegetables and things like that. And so I think that creativity is just like kind of personal to everyone, and it's really about finding what that means to you. And so I don't know if I actually answered that question.
Yeah, definitely. And as you were taught, like part of why I created this question is because I was the person who didn't consider myself creative for a long time. And so I have found my own way to express my creativity. And so I just love hearing what others consider creativity outside of like mainstream, like painting or singing or writing, those typical modes of creativity.
Totally.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I don't know. I think when I interviewed my mom on the podcast, and I love talking to my mom, and it's just so fun. She's one of those people who like, she doesn't speak up a lot, she's just a little timid sometimes, but when you give her a chance, to speak up, it's like she has so much to share, and I think she's so awesome. And my mom has been one of those people, I call her like a lifelong pivoter. She started out as a chiropractor. She has done so many different odd jobs like education, computers, all this different stuff. We owned a canoe and kayak business in Montana when I was little and stuff, and so she always kind of just gave me the possibility. She opened my eyes up to like the possibility that like you can do a lot of different things. You can have multiple passions in your life, and you can find joy in whatever you're doing for the most part, And so when I was interviewing her on my podcast and I asked her, what's the secret to selling? And she was like, it's so funny. I really just found joy in, like, I just had fun in the selling process. And she's like related it to our canoe and kayak business. And she's like, I would just play off of my customer, whoever I'm talking to who wants to buy a boat. I'm like, okay, what do you want? Like, what are your desires? When you imagine yourself out on the river, what are you doing? Are you going through rapids? Are you fishing? Or are you just kind of lollygagging? Like, right. And then that'll help us figure out what boat you're having. And she would have fun, and she would like kind of carry her passion and her excitement into her customers. And she's like, so whatever you're doing in life and with your business, just like try to find the fun and the joy in it, and try to like share that joy and fun with your ideal customers. And like that is really just like how you can sell in the most genuine way. I was like, oh, Mom, that is crazy. But I loved that advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that too. I talk a lot about sales on the podcast. And so I think that nugget is perfect. What is something that's on your bucket list?
We like to travel a lot. I actually didn't travel very much as an adult until I met my now husband. And about 8 months into dating him, we were like, should we go to Asia? Should we quit our jobs and climb our way through Asia for 6 months? And I was like, yep. And so we did that. And it was kind of a big leap for me at that time. I'll be honest. Well, we started in China, which China is like a whole nother, elephant to tackle when you're traveling. But I was scared at first. And then when we got over the actual hump and I like opened my eyes to traveling, I realized like, wow, this is really awesome. So I think just like traveling more around the world is like on my bucket list for sure. And we haven't really selected any places or anything like that, but Japan is hopefully next on our list. And my brother-in-law keeps sending us all these Japan reels and stuff. So he's trying to push us to go there too.
That's awesome. And last question, what is the coolest shit you've done in the last year or are currently working on?
Yeah. Oh man, I think that starting my Authentic AI business and really just trying to like do my podcast and grow that has been just such a crazy journey for me. And just like the fact that I've been able to kind of like manage 2 brands and 2 businesses and grow them with like the help of AI tools and stuff. I think that it's really, really cool. And I do just want to share too with your audience, because I know that you have a lot of like women entrepreneur listeners, and AI tools. It's one of those things. I actually was having a conversation with a woman on my podcast. Her name's Dr. Nikki Sweeney. And one of her big passions and messages is to try to encourage more women to use AI tools, because here's a few statistics I just want to throw at you that came from Dr. Nikki. She said that men are actually 2 times more likely to use the top 50 AI tools than women are at this point, right? Wow. And there's a few different reasons for that, which fire me up for sure. I mean, firstly, like women weren't culturally raised to believe that they're techie or like be a part of STEM subjects necessarily. So that's not necessarily working in our favor when it comes to AI technology in general. Another thing that's popped up for me recently, I've heard this, and then Dr. Nikki brought this up too, is sometimes women feel like guilty for using AI tools, or like it's cutting corners in ways. And this is one of those things that really fires me up, because in general, when men use AI tools, they're productive, they're innovative. But when women use AI tools, it could be considered, cutting corners, or they could feel guilty for it, And it's one of those things we really need to make a shift around, that this is a tool that we're allowed to use. But then another thing to think about too is one of the reasons that women are concerned about it being cutting corners or feeling guilty is because we really do need to somewhat pay attention more so to our image and how we present ourselves to the world in order to be taken seriously, right? And so we're worried about AI tools turning our brands into robots or being viewed as we're not doing the work. And so maybe we won't be respected as much, right? So these are just things that we all can kind of think about and like shift our mindset around when it comes to using these tools. And the reason it's really important to use AI tools as women is there's a few different reasons for sure. But number one, there's statistics out there that AI tools can allow you to be 40% more productive. And that is working 2 extra days per week, or for your audience, taking 2 extra days off per week or whatever it is. But when you think about it in terms of like the gender income gap, the people who are using AI tools are going to be getting more done. They're going to be more likely to get that promotion or that raise. And it could actually increase the gender income gap instead of decreasing it. And so we really need to embrace using these tools. And then the other side of the coin there is that AI tools at this point are trained by the people who are using them, right? So anything that we put into these tools, future models of ChatGPT, will be more likely to kind of reproduce in a way or emulate in a way, right? And if women aren't using these tools, then these tools we aren't going to be represented in these models, right? So anyway, I don't know. That's just something that like really fires me up when it comes to AI stuff. And I think it's like cool shit,
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And I love those statistics. And, one of the things I challenge my clients during the mastermind groups to do is to ask for help. And because it can be so hard for us because we didn't do it ourselves. We didn't do it alone. We, didn't pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And I think using tools like this is part of like asking for help and doing things more productively. And I love the representation piece of it too. So awesome. This was such a wonderful conversation. So where can people find you? Where can they, what do you want to share with the audience to connect with you?
Yes, I would love to connect. Thank you so much for having me on. I love the combo too. I could geek out for days, of course, about this stuff. But I do have a podcast, Authentic AI Podcast. If you want to hop over there and give it a listen, I just share down-to-earth, actionable tips for entrepreneurs when it comes to AI tools. My website is DIY.ai, and that's where you can find my Instagram at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. And on the website, I have lots of different freebies. I have the Reels prompt playbook for ChatGPT, like we were talking about earlier. I also have the Authentic AI Tech Toolkit. It's basically where I'm throwing any recommended AI tool that I hear from my podcast guests or that I've tried myself. I throw it into the toolkit so I can remember it and find it when I need it, right? So that's available for free as well. And then I do have the 2 mini courses that I kind of chatted about a little bit, the brand persona mini course and then the brand blueprint if you want to create like the ultimate training document for your brand for ChatGPT. So that's that. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was really, really great. I really appreciate your time, all your insight, and I know my audience is going to get so much out of our conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
If you like that episode, please leave a review. Those are always so helpful on whatever platform you listen to this. Until next time, remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.
The greatest.